Hi guys, welcome to the 7th Online Summit for Face Painters. My name is Nadine Davidson. Some of you might know me from my business name, which is Nadine's Dreams. This is my third time teaching for the summit, so I'm really excited to teach you guys, and I hope you're excited to learn. I'm going to be teaching some on-the-job popular designs that I do all the time, so I really hope you guys enjoy this class, and let's get started. Okay guys, this is going to be a frozen Elsa design, and all of these products are listed in my handout. This is my model, who is as cute as a button. I'm going to start off with a Paint Pal petal sponge, and I'm dipping it in water and then squeezing out all the excess. You don't want it too wet, but just wet enough to pick up enough paint on here. I'm going to load up some glitter white on the pointed end, and then some of this light blue shimmer on the rounded end of the sponge. Okay, I basically just want to get about half and half of each color on this petal sponge. A little bit more white. Okay. And I think that looks good. We've got about half and half on here. And then I'm going to start off by sponging over top of the eyelids. So the white is going to go on the inner corner of the eyes, so starting with the pointed end of the sponge, and then sponging it over both eyelids, up and out, just going over the eyebrow area a little bit with the blue. Okay, just making sure you get a nice even coverage. And then with whatever's left on my sponge, I'm just going to sponge the rest of it over top of her forehead, so we just get a little bit of a shimmer. Okay, and then what I usually like to do is just flip my sponge and pick up a little bit of that shimmer pink, and I'm just going to put a little bit on each cheek just to give her rosy cheeks. Okay. And then while this is all still a little bit wet, I'm going to poof some glitter on here. This is just a pearly white translucent glitter. Then next I'm going to load up a 3/4 inch angle brush with a blue and white one-stroke cake. My cake is homemade, but you can get lots of different brands in these colors. Make sure that you're loading the white on the very pointed tip of your brush. Okay, and we're gonna just use this to create basically icicles, like a crown of icicles over the forehead. Okay, starting in the center of the forehead, okay, about halfway up, start painting a point. Okay, with the white on the outside, and then bring the sides straight down on each side. Okay, then creating a small skinny icicle on each side, like this. And then another larger icicle pointing out towards her temple a little. And then from that icicle, we're going to swoop around the eyebrow, just out to the outside corner of her eye. And then I like to kind of come out and do a couple of strokes coming down and then just curving under the eye about halfway, kind of closing it up around her eye a little. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing on the other side, creating that larger icicle here, pointing out towards her temple, like this. And then from that icicle, we're going to swoop around the eyebrow and down to the outside corner of the eye. And then a couple of strokes just coming down and around under her eye a little bit. Okay, and then we kind of have a nice mask shape happening here. Okay. So next we're going to use our snowflake stencil. I'm using a PBA stencil. And then we're going to load up a finger dauber with white. I'm just spritzing my cake and loading up this finger dauber with quite a bit of paint, but you really don't want it to be too runny. You want it to be kind of tacky. And I always double check it on the back of my hand before I stencil anything. Because if this is too wet, it's gonna bleed underneath your stencil and it'll just make a mess of your entire design. Carefully place your stencil nice and centered and hold it firmly with your thumb and your index finger, trying very hard not to move it at all. Start dabbing on the white over top of all the little cutout areas, making sure you get the entire stencil design. Okay, this will make all the difference if you get the entire design on there. Okay, still holding it firmly in place, and then slowly lift it when you're done. Next, we're going to do some white line work. And I'm loading up a number 3 Blazing brush, and I'm using a DFX white. And we're basically just gonna follow the shape of our 1-stroke design. I'm doing like kind of a half swirl and then a reverse teardrop, following the shape of our 1-stroke design. A swirl here, okay. And then I like to reload my brush, and then I'll fill in these little pointed icicle tips with a few little teardrops. Okay, a long one in the center and a couple of shorter ones on each side. Like that. And just kind of defining these little snowflake icicle sections here, filling in those points with some little teardrops. Okay. And then I'm gonna do kind of like reverse teardrops coming down under the eye. Okay, from longer to a little bit smaller. They're almost like petals. They're not really like long teardrops. They're kind of like little petals. And then filling in this tip with a few teardrops. Okay. And then I'm gonna do the same thing on this side. I'm gonna just follow that 1-stroke design with some line work coming down around the outside of the eye. And then reverse teardrop. And then a little swirl coming up here. Trying to make sure that what you're doing on one side, you're doing on the other. Sometimes I like to turn the child's head and look straight on and make sure everything looks quite even. Okay, and then I'm gonna do the same thing here where we're gonna do some reverse teardrops or petals. They're kind of like really short reverse teardrops. Coming around under the eye. Like that. Right. And then next I just like to add little dots. I like to kind of finish off under the eye here with some little dots, going from bigger dots to smaller, kind of up under the eye, finishing off that under eye area. Okay, and then a few little dots here, kind of connecting our mask at the end of these big teardrops. And then a few little random dots after some of our line work or teardrops. I just like to add a few little random whimsical dots. Like that. And then also kind of, I'll just do a couple little dots here on the tips of each icicle. Okay, and then next I'm gonna do her lips using a disposable applicator. I'm just gonna use some face paint. This is just face paint. I don't use any kind of special lipstick or anything. Yes, sometimes the kids do ask for their lips to be reapplied when they've eaten and it's wiped off and everything. Sometimes I'll do it if I have time. Sometimes I won't, depending, but you just add this lip. And then I like to dab a little bit of glitter just on the bottom lip. Some kind of a matching glitter. This is turquoise. All right, and then I'm gonna use a bling. This is totally optional. I made this bling and I just put some latex-free eyelash glue on the back of this just to finish off that design. And here's the reveal. I think she really loves it. And that's it for our frozen design. I hope you guys enjoyed this.